he said to them, "Come away to a deserted place, all by yourselves, and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in the boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. As he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. When they had crossed over, they came to land at Gennesaret and moored the boat. When they got out of the boat, people at once recognized him and rushed about that whole region and began to bring the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, in the villages or cities or farms, they laid the sick in the marketplaces and begged him that they might touch even the fringe of his cloak. And all who touched it were healed. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. And he said to them, "Come away to a deserted place, all by yourselves, and rest a while." Rest. A break from all activity. Rest. A chance to renew, to slow down, to stop. Rest. An end of work, if only for a little while. Rest. An opportunity to stop doing so that you might simply be. Rest. What a beautiful word. So much is packed into this simple invitation from Jesus, and I've been a little surprised at my own reaction reading it. The only thing I can explain it by is that I have filled my life for years, I suspect, but especially of late, with so much activity, so much work, so many things to do, so many obligations, that the very idea of rest is fascinating. But don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining at all. I love my life, and I would much rather be busy than not. It's more an observation that somewhere in all the things that make for a blessedly hectic life, shall we call it that, I think I forgot how to truly rest. Even when I'm off and I'm away, I am always doing something. Someone once told me I was not a human being, but a human doing. And I suspect I'm not alone. There was a study out of UCLA a few years back that observed the typical week of 32 middle-class families in the LA area. The idea was to take a detailed snapshot of American family life in the early 21st century. The results, according to one researcher, were disheartening, it said in her report. Consumed with working, collecting, amassing, and generally getting ahead, these families actually spent very little time together enjoying what they were supposedly working for. The report also showed how little time family members spent outdoors. It said something like 50 of the 64 parents in the study never stepped outside in the course of a week other than to go to their car and get back. When they said when they gave us tours of their house, they would say things like, "Well, there's the backyard. I don't have time to go there." They were working a lot at home. Leisure time was then spent in front of the TV or at the computer. They had no time, the study showed, to rest. Now, most of us are familiar with the commandment to keep the Sabbath holy. But usually we assume that just means go to church. And while church is an important part of our Sabbath life, I remember one of my seminary professors pointing out, in the biblical context, when they heard this, it would have been unbelievably good news to people who recently were slaves or who still were slaves, people whose time was never their own, and who never ever had a guaranteed period of rest. I could just hear him saying things like, "What? You mean we get to rest? We even have to rest? Hallelujah!" Yeah, right? I have this hunch that more and more of us find ourselves in a place that's not all that different. Except our slavery is a self-constructed, self-imposed, and therefore far more difficult to detect or overcome. We are enslaved to notions of success and what we must do to keep our jobs, and we put few limits on our work. We're enslaved to ideas about our children having every opportunity possible and therefore schedule them into frenetic lives and wonder why they have a hard time focusing. We are enslaved to the belief that the only thing that will bring contentment is more. More money, more space in our homes, more cars, more things to put on our resumes or things to put in our closets, more toys, more. So go ahead and name that thing that you've fallen prey to wanting more of. And such levels of wanting, such a need of more, quite frankly, doesn't permit much time for anything else. In light of all this, listen once again to Jesus' simple invitation to come away to a deserted place, all by yourself, and rest a while. This isn't just an invitation to take an afternoon off or go on vacation where you're bouncing from one thing to another. Those may be important things. But this is an invitation to climb out of the cages we've constructed from a culturally fed belief that more is the ticket to happiness and work is the ticket to more. And hear the opening verse of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It's interesting that we tend to focus so strongly on the powerful image. That's the first half of that phrase. But look at the second half. The image makes no sense apart from the second half. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Think of it as a kind of a because, therefore. Because the Lord is my shepherd, therefore, there's nothing else I really need. Because I trust God for my good, therefore, I shall not cave into my culture enticing me to want and want and want at every turn and every corner of my life. Because God has promised to take care of me, therefore, I will pause the treadmill of accumulation so that I can rest and actually notice the abundance that God has provided all around me and rejoice in that. And that's the key thing about Sabbath rest, I think. It invites us to step back from all the things that usually drive us and consume us, so that we might see God's presence and blessing and experience a sense of contentment and give thanks. But I'll tell you, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm preaching to myself, and that's very hard to do. It's no wonder the psalmist says quite honestly that the Lord didn't simply invite rest, but rather says the Lord makes me lie down in green pastures. We are a people that desperately needs rest, and yet we resist it like a toddler. So now, the Lord commands it. So this week, here's something I want you to consider. This biblical call to rest. Be honest with yourself about how much time you spend enjoying all the things in this life that God has already provided. I invite you to consider that life, abundant life, doesn't consist of more, because abundant isn't a quantitative term, it's a qualitative term. So I want you to do something this morning. We have a little homework assignment in worship. Hopefully you received a piece of paper as you came in that you probably gave a rather funny look. If you didn't get one, there will be some at the usher stand on the way out. There are 2 lines on that piece of paper. Grab a pencil. There's one in the pew, or you've got a pen in your purse or pocket. And I want you to write down at the top part of that one thing you will not do this week. One evening you will shut down your computer, or turn off the TV, or turn off your cell phone. One appointment you will refuse to take. One more opportunity you will skip. Write down one thing so that you might pause and truly rest for just a while. Now I want you to write down at the bottom part of that paper one thing you will actually do in order to rest. One walk you will take with a friend or a spouse. One game you'll play with a child or neighbor. One opportunity you will take to simply sit in the presence of God, alone or with others. One opportunity to sit not in front of the television, but simply to contemplate your blessings and God's abundance, so that you can go to bed tonight content and grateful, and maybe actually get some sleep. You got something? If you can't think of something quickly, you may have a bigger problem than you realize. And finally, I want you to take this piece of paper and post it somewhere prominent in your life. Put it on your bathroom mirror, tape it to your computer monitor, put it on your desk at work. Maybe make copies of it and post it in several places. And then, we've done this before, but I want to see if it works again this time. Please email me what you noticed, what you discovered, where it was difficult to follow through, and when it was actually rewarding. I'd like to hear your stories. It won't be easy. Many of us may have to give up some of the destructive yet oddly attractive habits we've acquired. But who knows? Along with what we lose, we may just find something new, something really quite wonderful. We might find our lives again. May God bless you and me with the rest in our days that He designed into life from the very beginning. And to God